Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's eSpeaks, we're taking a deep dive into the relationship between data analytics and cloud computing. Along the way, we'll talk about AI and machine learning. To explore those topics, I'm joined by a very special guest. With me is Steve McMillan, Chief Executive Officer of Teradata. Steve, absolutely thrilled to have you with us today.
James, it's absolutely great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So, as you look at the data analytics sector, there's a lot going on, and I'd like to see, especially how it's influenced by multi-cloud use. I mean, that's a big theme this year. What do you see driving this sector here in 2023?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of drivers, especially around the data and analytics marketplace for 2023. I mean, clearly what's got all of the attention recently is ChatGPT and large language models. And certainly in Teradata, we see that as driving use cases. But we'll talk a little bit that in a moment or two. Look, I joined Teradata 3 years ago. And one of the reasons I'd been in the IT industry for over 30 years. But one of the reasons I joined Teradata was because of its placement in the data and analytics space, because it's a market and a subsegment of the IT market that is going through substantial growth. There's never a day goes by where there's less data in the world than the day before.
Yes.
So how you consume and how you analyze and how you get value out of that data becomes incredibly important. And Teradata was uniquely placed to be able to do that. So that data growth is certainly something that we continue to see growing through 2023, and that will power the data and analytics industry. But I think also what's been interesting in terms of the shift from 2022 into 2023, a lot of companies were looking at data and analytics for really growth use cases. So, how can we analyze the market better? How can we get market insights into their customer base and utilize their data so that they can put forward a growth agenda? I think in uncertain macroeconomic times, companies kind of pivot their use cases towards much more cost control or expense control and utilizing the data that they've got in their ecosystem to really optimize their operations or the efficiency and effectiveness of operations. And I think RPA is a good example of some of those use cases in terms of robotic process automation.
Right.
But it's interesting how ChatGPT, but more specifically large language models, are going to really disrupt that marketplace and continue to drive more growth in terms of the use cases that are deployed against the data and analytics marketplace.
Well, interesting. Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that the large language model that's going to disrupt the RPA sector. How so? How is it going to change that sector?
Well, that's just one example, I think, of the disruption. I think large language models, especially deployed against, especially when that is deployed against, data that's trusted inside an organization, can really start to impact all different parts of the company operations. And when I talk to organizations around the world, I don't think there's a board in the world that's not asking about usage of ChatGPT, but really they mean the usage of large language models to actually look at improving their operations internally, or can they utilize that technology to improve customer service? We've got a great example of a retailer in Israel who's kind of implementing a future of retail in an in-store experience. So they have shopping carts, and they want to make the shopping cart intelligent so that it can give you an Amazon-like experience as you're actually physically walking around the store. And so we actually work with that retailer to utilize Teradata technology. So we utilize Teradata to do all of the feature engineering around that large language model. And then we link it to AWS SageMaker, and SageMaker does all the model training. And then Teradata Vantage Cloud then does all of the model scoring against real data inside the customer's environment to actually get the shopping cart, to enable the shopping cart to make a recommendation to the consumer that's actually in the store. And so that is a really great example of, providing a brand new differentiated customer experience utilizing these technologies. But I like that example because it not only talks about how to use data and analytics, but also in a cloud context. I think it's incredibly important for data and analytics platforms to really integrate well with the hyperscaler services.
Mm-hmm.
And when we declared inside Teradata that we were going to move from a focus on-prem to being cloud first,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what we really meant by that is we would look at our company in terms of not trying to answer all questions to all people. We would utilize best-in-class services, and those might be from a cloud service provider, to actually integrate into the data flows and data pipelines and the analytics use cases that our customers have so that they can use the best service for the right job inside that data pipeline to get the best possible outcome for their customers. And so as we've looked at the evolution of the Teradata technology, I mean, we're a 40-year-old company. You could say we invented enterprise data warehousing, but the next gen of Teradata is all going to be about the real linkage between cloud and multi-cloud and data and analytics, and then using the best of the hyperscalers' services to bring unique, differentiated value propositions. And as I said, in 2023, a lot of those are looking at optimization and cost and expense optimization in 2023.
Mm-hmm. You know, I definitely see that connection between the world of cloud and the world of data. I think that's and using the hyperscalers to get best-in-class performance. I mean, I think that companies are often really confused about optimizing their data analytics practice. I mean, what advice would you give them, especially as it relates to the world of cloud? Because companies are trying to deal with their cloud deployment and their data analytics deployment. I think both are somewhat confusing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The whole topic of cloud optimization is a fairly hot topic in the marketplace just now, as people want to ensure they're getting the best value from their cloud spend and they don't have accelerating and escalating costs from a consumption perspective. We have a very simple view of that inside Teradata. You know, what we do is actually, because we were born on-prem, we actually take that technology to the cloud. Mm-hmm. And we have patented capabilities that do workload management and query optimization in the Teradata system when it's running in the cloud, which gives a very cost-effective, we would say probably one of the best enterprise class price performance capabilities around data and analytics in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. That is delivered because we know how to squeeze as much as possible out of every ounce of compute and every ounce of storage that's in the hyperscaler environment is made available to the Teradata ecosystem. And so customers can actually have a real advanced view of data financial governance utilizing the Teradata system. And I think, other data technologies, which they solve complex problems by spinning up extra compute nodes inside the hyperscaler environment. We solve difficult problems with great software inside Teradata. And so we give a very well financially governed solution to our customers. And that's really resonating inside our customer base just now, especially in 2023 when there's a focus on that cost and expense envelope. But it's super interesting that actually one of the analysts actually asked me, so what's your view on cloud optimization? Do you think Teradata's revenues overall are going to be negatively impacted by cloud optimization? And my perspective on that was, well, our platform optimizes, every millisecond or sub-millisecond in terms of the delivery of value to our customers. So it's that we don't see that as a tailwind at all for the company as we move forward. And it's a real mutual benefit for Teradata and our customers.
All right, let's drill down actually a bit more into the Teradata product portfolio. You've talked about it, but how exactly is Teradata addressing the data analytics needs of its clients? I mean, what is the Teradata Advantage in a nutshell?
Yeah, Teradata Vantage is essentially our data and analytics platform, and it's multi-cloud. So Vantage Cloud is actually our Teradata platform in the cloud, and we deploy natively across all three of the biggest cloud service providers, Google, AWS, and Azure. Mm-hmm. So Vantage is our product set name. Vantage Cloud is our implementation in the cloud. One of the great things about the Teradata ecosystem and the Teradata platform is it's consistently deployed across all three clouds and back into on-prem. And so when you want to make that multi-cloud capability come to life, you can do it in a very consistent way. So it's very easy for our customers to move from their on-prem implementation of Teradata Vantage to Teradata Vantage Cloud and run inside the cloud in the hyperscaler environments. But we've just added to that product portfolio recently. We announced it last August, where we announced Teradata Vantage Cloud Lake, which is a new completely cloud-native architecture, which enables self-service provisioning of compute capability in the cloud. It's deployed on AWS. We'll have Azure coming out before the end of first half. And really what that enables our customers to do is utilize and run data and analytics workloads outside of their core Teradata system and link data together across multiple clouds to get a level of insight that they might not otherwise get. So with that new technology and new capability, really, we serve the needs of enterprise data warehousing. We serve the needs of data lake inside our customers. We enable the creation of a data mesh and a query mesh and enable the deployment of data and analytics in a use case and a pattern that our customers choose. We think we've got one of the most flexible deployment platforms in the industry just now.
One interesting point out, you talked about the Vantage solution. It's deployed to the three major cloud players. Is there a way where that data can talk to each other between the three players, Azure to AWS to Google, or is it siloed once it resides in those three cloud players?
Yeah, so we have a great point of view in terms of data for our customers, which resonates really well with our customer base. And that is to get the best out of data utilizing the Teradata platform, you don't have to move it. You can just use it in situ.
Right.
And the way that we do that is by putting Teradata query engines close to the data. So we have a use case of a bank in Europe where their front office system, I think, is running on AWS. Their back office system is actually running on Azure. And then they utilize Teradata. Teradata is implemented in both AWS and in Azure. And they utilize Teradata to integrate data together from their front office system together with their back office system. And the way that they do that is a patented capability that Teradata has. It's called push-down query. And so if the Azure system can send a query to the AWS system, and the AWS will execute that on the data and the data gravity that's in the AWS system and just return the query results back to the Teradata system that's running in Azure. And so that stops the expensive ingress, egress costs of moving data from one cloud to another. And so we call that a query grid or a query mesh. So it's not a data mesh as such, because you're actually processing the queries next to the data. You're not moving that data around. And that capability also enables our customers to not only go multi-cloud between the three CSPs, but if they have regulatory concerns that mean that they have to keep data on-prem in their data center, then we can also link their data center data into that overall query grid. So they can have data in Azure, data in Google, data in AWS, and data on-prem, and link it all together in a way that other providers just can't touch.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, well, let's look at the big question, the question that I think companies are worrying about really heavily, and that is the future of data analytics, especially as it relates to the cloud landscape. There's so many different directions that could go. What is your prediction for the near and midterm? What do you see happening in that sector?
Yeah, I think it's a really robust area for all organizations around the world. If you read any CIO survey, I think the top three or four categories of CIO spend, where CIOs are either maintaining or increasing their cloud spend. The top three are cybersecurity, cloud, and data and analytics. Yeah.
Right.
And so that, I think that trend is going to continue as organizations realize that in order to respond either for a better customer experience or a better operational outcome or better supply chain management, they're going to have to bring all of that data together. I was talking to one of the largest banks in the world, actually, and they had a really interesting perspective in terms of competition. They have a large internal IT organization, but their perspective was for them to be a bank of the future. They are going to have to take advantage of the innovation that the hyperscalers are bringing to the marketplace,
Right.
and take advantage of all of that R&D spend that those hyperscalers are executing against, so that they can utilize services as they come up from a hyperscaler. Good example of that is large language models with Azure and Azure ML now having that built in. And so that encouraged that particular bank to really accelerate their cloud strategy, because they saw that in order for them to take their IT capability to the next level, they know that they're going to have to take advantage of those services that are made available from the CSPs. And that they selected Teradata as their data and analytics platform in the cloud, as one of their data and analytic platforms in the cloud, because of that level of integration, because our strategy really says, we're going to be that connected multi-cloud data and analytics platform. That really resonated with that bank and how they wanted to drive their technology strategy into the future.
Interesting. Steve, I think you said it. It's a lot of good stuff. I learned something, and the whole world of cloud and data analytics is obviously going to be growing dramatically in the years ahead. Thank you so much for sharing your insight, and please come back and talk with us again sometime.
Thanks, James. Thanks for the questions. Great to chat with you.